Did you know? The way you phrase your words can trigger an irresistible psychological response in 99.9% of people. It's not magic, it's science, rooted in the principles of Dark Stoic psychology. Stick around, and I'll reveal the secret phrases that give you unmatched influence and help you stand out from the crowd. Number 1. I understand where you're coming from. Let's talk about something most people overlook when trying to connect with others: validation. See, when you say, "I understand where you're coming from," you're not just throwing words out there, you're crafting a bridge straight into someone's emotional core. It's like speaking their language without actually knowing their dialect. Those words, when used the right way, can make someone feel truly seen, and let me tell you, that's addictive. People crave being understood more than they crave winning an argument or proving a point. It's wild how much power this has, yet so few people know how to use it effectively. Now, here's the kicker: I understand where you're coming from isn't just about the words. No. It's about the energy you bring when you say them. If it feels forced or robotic, they'll sniff that out faster than you'd expect. The tone matters. The timing matters. Even your body language matters. Imagine locking eyes with someone, nodding slightly, and delivering that line with a warm, calm voice. It's not just a statement, it's an experience. And people love experiences. But why does it work so well? Simple: most of us go through life feeling like no one truly gets us. Think about it. How often do you talk to someone, and instead of really listening, they're just waiting for their turn to speak? They might hear your words, sure, but they're not listening. And that's where this phrase becomes a game changer. When you say, "I understand where you're coming from," you're breaking the pattern. You're giving them something rare: validation. Here's where things get interesting. When someone feels understood, their defenses crumble. You know that wall people put up, the one that says, "Don't get too close or I don't trust you yet"? That wall? It doesn't stand a chance against genuine understanding. It's like you've found the secret passcode to their inner world, and suddenly, they're open. They're vulnerable. They're yours to influence, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that allows for deep, authentic connection. But here's the thing: it's not just about agreeing with someone. That's a rookie mistake. Understanding doesn't mean saying, "Oh yeah, you're totally right." It means stepping into their shoes for a moment, seeing the world through their eyes, and acknowledging their perspective, even if it's wildly different from your own. You don't have to agree to understand. That's the beauty of it. You can validate their feelings without compromising your own beliefs, and that balance? It's magnetic. Picture this: someone's ranting about their problems, and instead of brushing them off or countering with your own point of view, you pause. You really listen. You let their words sink in. Then, you hit them with, "I get it. I understand where you're coming from." Not in a dismissive way, but in a way that says, "Your feelings matter to me." It's like flipping a switch. Their posture changes. Their tone softens. They feel lighter, even if just for a moment. And here's the cherry on top: when people feel understood, they're more likely to listen to you. That's the secret sauce. You can't influence someone who feels misunderstood or unheard. But when you've shown them that you get it, that you get them, they'll lean in. They'll trust you more. And trust? That's priceless. So the next time you're in a conversation, try it. Really try it. Don't rush to respond. Don't scramble to fix their problem. Just take a beat, absorb what they're saying, and when the moment's right, say, "I understand where you're coming from." Watch what happens. It might just surprise you how quickly those walls come tumbling down. Number 2, you're absolutely right. You know what's almost impossible to resist? Validation. It's like an instant hack to someone's psyche. And saying, "You're absolutely right," is the ultimate validation move. It's sneaky powerful because, let's face it, everyone loves to be right, even if they don't admit it. It's wired into our brains. Think about it. When someone tells you you're right, doesn't it feel like a mental high five? Like the world just confirmed you're smart, sharp, and, well, worth listening to? The phrase works wonders because it taps into the ego without being too obvious. The moment you say it, you're aligning yourself with the other person's perspective. You're not just agreeing, you're amplifying their sense of self-worth. And when people feel valued, they naturally gravitate toward you. They trust you more. They feel seen and heard. And that's intoxicating. But here's the kicker, you're not just stroking their ego. You're lowering their defenses. Think of it like this, when you agree with someone, even if it's just with those 3 little words, you're removing the friction. Suddenly, there's no need for them to argue or prove their point. They've won, and everyone loves a winner. They relax, they open up, and, before they know it, they're leaning in, figuratively and maybe even literally. And here's the dark Stoic twist, it doesn't even matter if you actually agree with them. That's not the point. The goal isn't to prove who's right or wrong, it's to disarm. It's about creating connection, building rapport, and subtly steering the dynamic in your favor. See, most people get caught up in the trap of wanting to correct others. They want to debate, to show off how much they know. But when you resist that urge and instead drop "you're absolutely right," you're playing the long game. You're building trust and influence that will serve you far better than a quick gotcha moment ever could. Now, I get it, you're probably wondering, but what if I don't agree? Am I supposed to lie? Not exactly. You can find ways to make it genuine. Focus on the part of what they're saying that you can agree with. Even if it's just a sliver of truth, lean into that. Say, "You're absolutely right about this part." It's not about selling out your beliefs, it's about strategically choosing when and where to push back. Sometimes, the best power move is to let someone else feel like they've won, even when you've got a totally different plan in mind. What's wild is how versatile this is. You can use it with friends, coworkers, strangers, it doesn't matter. It works across the board. Why? Because it taps into something universal, the human need to feel understood. That's the secret sauce right there. Everyone wants to be seen as competent, as insightful, as someone who gets it. When you give them that, even in just a small way, they're hooked. They can't help it. And let's not forget how subtle this can be. You're not bowing down or giving away your power. If anything, you're quietly claiming power by setting the tone of the interaction. People who master this move don't just win arguments, they bypass them entirely. They get people to like them, to trust them, and, ultimately, to follow their lead. It's the art of influence disguised as a compliment. So, the next time you're in a conversation, try it out. Watch how people light up when you hit them with a sincere, "You're absolutely right." Notice how the energy shifts, how walls come down. It's like flipping a switch. The real magic isn't in the words themselves, though. It's in what they represent, a willingness to connect, to listen, and to make the other person feel like the most important person in the room. And that's how you become irresistible. Simple, right? But dangerously effective. Number 3, I value your opinion. Let me tell you something that's almost magical in its power. People love to feel important. It's just how we're wired. And when you tell someone, "I value your opinion," you're not just saying words. You're handing them a gift, something that lights up a part of their brain that screams, "Hey, I matter." Think about it. We live in a world where everyone is shouting their thoughts into the void, desperate to be heard. And here you come, cutting through the noise, saying, "Hey, I actually care what you think." Now, this isn't about flattery or manipulation. It's about connection. When you say, "I value your opinion," you're creating a moment. A moment where that person feels seen, feels like their voice carries weight. And when someone feels that, they lean in. They listen more closely. They open up in ways you wouldn't expect. It's like you've pressed a secret button that makes them feel good about themselves. And, let's be real, who doesn't want to feel that? Here's the thing though, it has to be genuine. People can smell fake a mile away. If you're just throwing out "I value your opinion" like it's some kind of script, it's going to fall flat. The real magic happens when you say it with intention, when you actually mean it. When your eyes say, "I'm here with you." Your thoughts matter. That's when walls come down. That's when trust is built. But let's dig deeper into why this works so well. Humans are naturally drawn to people who make them feel significant. It's in our DNA to seek approval and acknowledgement. It's how we survived in tribes, how we formed communities. So when you say those 5 little words, you're tapping into something primal. You're saying, "Hey, in this moment, you're important to me. Your perspective matters more than anyone else's." And don't underestimate how much people crave this, even if they don't show it. We all have that little voice inside that wonders if anyone truly notices us, if anyone truly cares. When you say, "I value your opinion," you silence that voice. You're not just validating their thoughts, you're validating them as a person. It's powerful. It's transformative. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. When someone feels valued, they're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to open up, to share things they wouldn't with just anyone. It's like you've unlocked a level of intimacy that few people ever reach. Suddenly, they're rooting for you. They want to help you, to support you, to be on your side. Why? Because you've given them something rare, the feeling of being truly heard. And let's talk about the ripple effect. When you make someone feel this way, it doesn't just stay between the two of you. That person walks away feeling better about themselves, about their day, about life in general. And guess what? They associate that feeling with you. You become the person who made them feel good, who made them feel seen. That kind of connection? It's unforgettable. But here's the twist, you don't always have to say the words directly. Sometimes, it's about how you listen, the way you respond. A nod, a thoughtful question, a pause to really take in what they're saying, all of these things communicate the same message: "I value your opinion." It's not just what you say, it's how you make them feel. So, the next time you're in a conversation, try it. Not as a trick, but as a genuine way to connect. Watch their reaction. See how their face changes, how their energy shifts. And notice what it does for you too. Because here's the secret nobody tells you: when you truly value someone's opinion, you grow too. You learn, you expand, you see the world through a lens you might have missed. It's a win-win. In a world where everyone's fighting to be heard, be the person who listens. Be the person who says, "I value your opinion," and actually means it. You'll be surprised how far it takes you. Number 4, can you help me understand your perspective? Let's dive into one of the most underrated tools for irresistible communication. Can you help me understand your perspective? It's such a simple question, yet it carries a kind of power that most people overlook. See, at its core, this isn't just about words, it's about creating a space where someone feels safe enough to really open up. And when someone feels that safe with you, they're hooked. They'll want to keep talking, keep sharing, and keep connecting. But why is this question so effective? Here's the thing, most conversations are battles, not dances. People are stuck in their own heads, fighting to be right, to be heard, to feel like their view is the one that matters most. The moment you say, "Can you help me understand your perspective?" you flip the script. You're no longer a competitor in their verbal boxing match, You've become a curious observer, someone who genuinely wants to see the world through their eyes. That's disarming. And let's face it, we all want to feel like our perspective matters. What makes this phrase so magnetic is its humility. It's not just asking for clarification, it's admitting that you don't have all the answers. Think about it. How many people do you know who are willing to say, "Hey, I might be missing something. Help me see what you see"? Almost none, right? That vulnerability? That willingness to learn? It's rare, and that's exactly why it's so captivating. Now, don't confuse this with just letting them talk. This isn't a passive move. When you ask someone to help you understand their perspective, you're taking an active role in the conversation. You're not sitting back and nodding blankly, you're stepping into their story, asking questions, leaning in, genuinely trying to piece together their worldview. It's like saying, "Your mind is fascinating, and I want to explore it." Who can resist that? The way you say it matters, too. You can't just throw this question out like a lawyer cross-examining a witness. It's not a trap. It's an invitation. Your tone has to be soft, your body language open. Maybe you tilt your head slightly, give a little smile, or let your eyebrows raise just enough to show curiosity. And your timing? Crucial. You don't blurt it out in the middle of their sentence. Wait. Listen. Let there be a pause, a beat. Then say, "Can you help me understand your perspective?" Like you're handing them a gift, not demanding something from them. Here's where the real magic happens. When you ask this question, you're not just understanding their perspective, you're getting them to reflect on it, too. People rarely take the time to fully articulate their thoughts. By asking them to explain, you're guiding them to clarity, and in doing so, you're becoming a part of their thought process. That's powerful. Suddenly, you're not just someone they're talking to, you're someone who helped them figure things out. That kind of connection is hard to shake. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this just a fancy way of agreeing with someone? Not at all. You don't have to agree to understand. In fact, some of the best conversations happen when you don't see eye to eye. But instead of shutting down or arguing, you lean in with curiosity. Why do they think that way? What experiences shaped their view? What do they see that I'm missing? Asking for their perspective doesn't mean giving up your own. It means valuing theirs enough to explore it. And here's the beauty of it. When you show someone that you truly care about their perspective, they'll start to care about yours. It's a give and take. The walls come down, the tension eases, and suddenly, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about understanding each other, and that kind of connection? It's rare. It's addictive. It's unforgettable. So, the next time you're in a conversation, whether it's heated or just casual, try it. Slow down. Take a breath. Then ask, "Can you help me understand your perspective?" Watch what happens. You might just find yourself unlocking doors to a deeper connection than you ever thought possible. Number 5, I appreciate your honesty. There's something magnetic about honesty, isn't there? It's raw, unpolished, and just a little bit dangerous. When someone is honest with you, genuinely, no sugarcoating, no dancing around the edges, it can feel like they're handing you a piece of their soul. That's why saying, "I appreciate your honesty," hits so hard. It's not just a compliment, it's a recognition of courage. And, let's be real, everyone loves to feel brave, even if it's for a fleeting moment. When you tell someone, "I appreciate your honesty," you're doing something subtle yet profound. You're validating their decision to be real with you. Honesty, after all, isn't always easy. It's vulnerable. It's messy. It risks rejection, judgment, or worse, indifference. So, when you acknowledge it, you're essentially saying, "I see you. I value you. You're safe with me." And who doesn't crave that kind of reassurance? But here's where it gets interesting. This phrase isn't just about making the other person feel good. It's about setting the tone for the entire interaction. You're signaling that you're someone who values authenticity, who can handle the truth without flinching. That's power. That's influence. Because now, the other person feels like they don't have to tiptoe around you. They're drawn to your energy, your openness. They trust you. And trust? That's the currency of connection. Now, let's dig a little deeper. Why does this work so well? It's because honesty is, in a weird way, a gamble. When someone lays their truth on the table, they're taking a risk. Maybe it's a confession, a hard truth, or just something they've been holding back. By saying, "I appreciate your honesty," you're rewarding that risk. You're saying, "Hey, you bet on being real, and it paid off." That kind of reinforcement is addictive. It makes people want to keep coming back to you with their unfiltered thoughts, their real selves. And that's where the magic happens. But here's the thing, it's not just the words themselves. It's how you say them. Tone is everything. If you sound robotic or disinterested, you'll ruin the moment. You've got to let it land, let it feel personal. Slow it down if you have to. Look them in the eye, soften your voice, and make it feel like you mean every syllable. "I appreciate your honesty." Let it carry weight. Let it hang in the air for a beat. People remember moments like that. And don't underestimate the versatility of this phrase. It's not just for deep, emotional confessions. You can use it when someone gives you constructive criticism, admits a mistake, or even just shares an unpopular opinion. It works because it flips the script. Most people expect honesty to be met with defensiveness, awkwardness, or even confrontation. When you hit them with appreciation instead, it's disarming. It's unexpected. And that unpredictability? That's part of what makes it so powerful. Now, here's where the Dark Stoic psychology comes into play. By appreciating someone's honesty, you're subtly gaining the upper hand. Think about it, they've just opened up to you, exposed a vulnerable part of themselves. By responding with gratitude, you're positioning yourself as the emotionally stable one, the person in control. You're not rattled. You're not reactive. You're steady. That kind of energy draws people in. It makes them feel safe. And when people feel safe with you, they become putty in your hands. But let's not get too cynical. This isn't just a manipulation tactic. It's also about fostering real, meaningful connections. When you genuinely appreciate someone's honesty, you're creating a space where authenticity can thrive. And isn't that what we all want? To be real with each other, to strip away the masks, even if just for a moment. So, the next time someone takes that leap of honesty with you, don't brush it off. Don't downplay it. Lean in. Say it with intention, "I appreciate your honesty." Watch how it transforms the conversation, how it deepens the connection. It's simple, but it's a game changer. Number 6, you make a good point. Let's talk about a phrase so simple, yet so ridiculously effective, it might as well come with a mind-blown emoji. You make a good point. At first glance, it seems almost too basic, right? Just 5 little words. But here's the kicker, when you drop this line in a conversation, it has a way of stopping people in their tracks. Not because it's flashy or over the top, but because it's disarming. It's unexpected. And it taps into something almost everyone secretly craves: validation. Think about it. When you say, "You make a good point," you're not just agreeing with someone. You're recognizing their intelligence, their insight, their ability to bring something valuable to the table. You're saying, "Hey, what you just said, it's not just noise. It's worth something." And the thing is, most people aren't used to hearing that. They're used to defending their ideas, explaining themselves, or even being brushed off. So when you acknowledge their point like that, it hits different. Now, let's break this down. Why does this phrase work so well? First, it's because it shifts the power dynamic. When you tell someone they've made a good point, you're putting them in the driver's seat, even if it's just for a moment. You're letting them feel smart, capable, and influential. And guess what? People love that. It doesn't matter how confident someone seems on the outside, deep down, everyone loves a little ego boost. But there's more to it than stroking egos. You make a good point also shows that you're open-minded, that you're willing to listen and consider perspectives other than your own. And let me tell you, in a world where most people are just waiting for their turn to speak, that's a rare quality. When you say these words, you're basically telling the other person, I hear you. I see you. You're not just talking to a brick wall. And that's powerful. Here's where it gets interesting. You don't always have to fully agree with someone to say this. Maybe their point isn't a complete slam dunk, but there's still some truth in it, something worth acknowledging. When you call that out, it opens the door to deeper, more meaningful conversations. Instead of getting stuck in a debate, you're saying, hey, let's build on this together. Suddenly, it's not about who's right or wrong, it's about collaboration. And that kind of dynamic? It's magnetic. People are drawn to it. Now, let's talk about delivery. The way you say you make a good point matters. If it's flat or robotic, it's going to fall flat. But if you say it with curiosity, maybe even a little surprise, it lands differently. Imagine leaning in slightly, raising an eyebrow, letting a small smile curl at the corner of your lips. You make a good point. Boom. It feels real. It feels personal. It feels like you're genuinely impressed, and that impression lingers. But don't stop there. If you really want to take it to the next level, follow it up with something specific. You make a good point about, insert detail. I hadn't thought about it like that before. When you do this, you're not just validating their point, you're engaging with it. You're showing that you've actually listened, that you're willing to dig deeper. And let me tell you, people love that. They love feeling like their words matter, like they're being taken seriously. Here's the secret sauce, though. When you use this phrase, it's not just the other person who benefits, you do too. Because by acknowledging their point, you're keeping your ego in check. You're reminding yourself that you don't have all the answers, that there's always more to learn. And when you approach conversations with that kind of humility, people can't help but respect you. They're drawn to you because you're not just talking at them, you're connecting with them. So next time you're in a conversation, try it. When someone says something that catches your attention, don't just nod or let it slide. Pause for a second. Let the words sink in. And then say it, you make a good point. Watch how their face changes, how their tone softens, how the energy in the room shifts. It's a simple phrase, sure. But in the right moment, with the right intention, it's pure magic. Number 7, what do you think we should do? Alright, let's get into this one. What do you think we should do? 7 words that pack an unbelievable punch. You might think this is just a simple question, but oh no, it's way more than that. This question is like handing someone the keys to the driver's seat of the conversation. It's an invitation, a power move, and a charm spell all rolled into one. First off, why does this question work so well? Easy. People love to feel valued. They love to feel like their opinion actually matters, like they're not just a spectator in the decisions being made around them. By asking, what do you think we should do, you're saying, hey, I trust you. Your input is important. Let's figure this out together. That level of respect? It's magnetic. Most people go through life feeling overlooked, like their thoughts are background noise. You're flipping that script and putting them in the spotlight. Now, here's the sneaky genius of this question. It shifts the dynamic without anyone even realizing it. You're no longer just the one in control. You've made them a partner, a collaborator. But here's the kicker, you're still steering the ship. You're just letting them think they're holding the map. It's psychological judo, redirecting their energy in a way that benefits both of you. The tone, though, that's critical. This isn't a demand. You're not barking, "Well, what should we do?" That's confrontational. Nobody wants that. Instead, you deliver it with a kind of relaxed curiosity, like you genuinely care what they think. Because you should care. Even if their idea isn't a slam dunk, it still gives you insight into how they're processing the situation. And knowing how someone thinks, that's a gold mine. Now, let's talk about the word "we" in this phrase. That's where the magic happens. When you say "we," you're creating a sense of unity. It's not about you versus them or one person being the hero, it's about teamwork. You're saying, "Hey, we're in this together. Your thoughts matter because this is our decision, not just mine." That little shift in language pulls people closer. It makes them feel like they're part of something bigger, and that's irresistible. But here's where it gets even better. This question doesn't just make people feel valued, it also takes the heat off you. Think about it, when there's pressure to make a decision, most people either freeze or panic. Asking, "What do you think we should do?" redirects that pressure. It buys you time. It shows humility. And it gives you a chance to gather more information before you make your move. Of course, this isn't just about collecting opinions, it's about strategy. The way they answer tells you so much. Are they confident? Hesitant? Are they thinking about the big picture, or are they stuck on small details? Their response gives you a window into their mindset, their priorities, their fears. And once you have that information, you can respond in a way that meets them where they are. Now, don't get it twisted, you're not asking this question just to agree with whatever they say. That's not the point. You don't have to follow their suggestion to the letter. In fact, sometimes their response might spark an idea you hadn't even considered. Or maybe it'll confirm that your gut instinct was right all along. Either way, asking this question isn't about giving up control, it's about gathering perspective. But here's the real beauty of it. When someone feels like they had a hand in the decision-making process, they're way more likely to be on board with the outcome. Even if things don't go perfectly, they won't feel like the blame rests solely on your shoulders. They'll own it, too. And that shared accountability? That's priceless. So next time you're in a situation where the stakes are high, or even if they're not, try it. Look them in the eye, take a breath, and ask, "What do you think we should do?" Watch how it transforms the dynamic. Watch how they lean in, how their expression changes, how the conversation becomes something deeper, something more collaborative. It's not just a question, it's a connection. And once you master it, you'll find that people can't help but be drawn to you. Number 8. Thank you for trusting me with that. You ever notice how rare trust is these days? Like, genuinely rare. People walk around guarded, keeping their thoughts and feelings locked up tighter than a vault. And who can blame them? Trusting someone feels like handing over a piece of yourself and hoping they don't crush it. So when someone does trust you, when they drop the act, lower the walls, and share something real, you've got to understand what a big deal that is. That's where "thank you for trusting me with that" comes in. It's not just a phrase, it's a moment. It's a way to pause, to let the other person know you don't take their vulnerability lightly. Those words have a kind of quiet gravity to them. They show you recognize the risk they took by opening up. You're telling them, "Hey, I see what you just did there, and I respect it." And let me tell you, that level of acknowledgement, It's magnetic. See, people don't just want to be heard, they want to feel safe while being heard. When you say, "Thank you for trusting me with that," you're creating a safe harbor in an often chaotic world. You're telling them, your secrets, your worries, your truths, they're safe here. And that's powerful. It's the kind of thing that sticks with people. They remember it, even if they don't fully understand why. It's like planting a seed of connection, one that grows deeper over time. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind it. Trust is inherently risky. It's vulnerable. When someone shares something personal or difficult, they're exposing themselves to judgment, to rejection, to the possibility that you might not handle it the way they need. By responding with gratitude, "Thank you for trusting me with that," you flip the script. You take what could have been a nerve-wracking moment for them and turn it into a validating one. You're not just accepting their trust, you're celebrating it. And people love to feel like their risks are worth it. Here's the thing, though, you've got to mean it. You can't just toss this phrase out there like it's a generic platitude. People can sniff out insincerity from a mile away. You've got to let it land, make it personal. Maybe lower your tone a bit. Look them in the eye if it feels right. Let them feel the weight of your words. Because this isn't about stroking egos or saying the right thing. It's about creating a moment of genuine connection. And when you get it right, that connection becomes unshakable. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a subtle power dynamic at play here. By thanking someone for their trust, you're not just acknowledging their vulnerability, you're positioning yourself as someone worthy of it. Think about that for a second. You're essentially reinforcing the idea that you're the kind of person people should confide in. And once that dynamic is established, people will naturally gravitate toward you. They'll see you as someone solid, dependable, someone they can lean on when things get heavy. That kind of reputation? It's priceless. Now, don't get it twisted, this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding the psychology of trust and using it to build something real. When you say, "Thank you for trusting me with that," you're making a promise, whether you realize it or not. You're promising to honor their trust, to protect what they've shared with you. And when you follow through on that promise, that's when relationships deepen. That's when people start to see you as more than just another face in the crowd. And let's not forget how this phrase makes you feel. It's humbling, isn't it? When someone trusts you, it's like they're saying, "I believe in you." That's a big deal. It's a reminder that the way you show up in the world matters, that the energy you bring to the table has an impact. So, in a way, this phrase isn't just for them, it's for you, too. It's a grounding moment, one that pulls you out of the noise and reminds you what really matters: connection, trust, and the rare, beautiful moments when someone chooses to be real with you. So next time someone opens up to you, whether it's something heavy, something awkward, or just something deeply personal, don't brush it off. Don't rush to respond. Take a breath, look them in the eye, and say it, "Thank you for trusting me with that." Watch how their shoulders drop, how their expression softens. It's like magic, but it's real. And that's the kind of moment people don't forget. Number 9, I admire your courage. Let's dive into a phrase that's both bold and strangely magnetic. I admire your courage. Those 4 words pack a punch. Why? Because they hit people right where it matters, their sense of self. Courage isn't just some surface-level quality like being nice or polite. It's raw. It's primal. And when you call it out in someone, you're not just complimenting them, you're validating something deep within them. Something they might not even realize they needed someone to notice. Let's be honest here. Most people go through life feeling like their struggles, their battles, their moments of bravery, are invisible. They fight silent wars, whether it's against fear, self-doubt, or external challenges, And rarely does anyone stop and say, you know what? That took guts. So, when you say, I admire your courage, it's like flipping on a light in a dark room. You're shining attention on something that matters, something that resonates on a human level. But what makes this phrase so irresistible? First, it's the rarity of it. Let's face it, how often do people acknowledge courage? Compliments usually stay in the safe zone, you're smart, or you look great today. But courage? That's deeper. That's about character. It's about recognizing someone's strength to step up, speak out, or stand firm. And when you point that out, you're not just giving a compliment, you're making a statement. You're saying, I see the fire in you, and I respect it. Here's the cool part, I admire your courage isn't just about what you're saying, it's about what it does. It creates a ripple effect. When you acknowledge someone's bravery, it reinforces that bravery in them. They start to believe it a little more. They think, yeah, maybe I am strong. Maybe I do have what it takes. And that feeling, that stays with them. It doesn't fade the way a generic compliment might. You've planted a seed that can grow long after the conversation ends. But let's take this a step further. When you tell someone you admire their courage, you're also doing something that's incredibly disarming. You're making yourself vulnerable. Think about it. Admiration requires humility. It's saying, you've done something I respect, something I might not have done myself. And that kind of honesty? It's rare. It's refreshing. It's magnetic. People are drawn to those who can set aside ego and give genuine praise. The beauty of this phrase lies in its versatility. It can be used in so many different contexts. Someone speaks up about something uncomfortable. I admire your courage for saying that. They take a risk, even if it's a small one. That took guts. I admire your courage. They stand by their values, even when it's hard. You know, I really admire your courage to stick to what you believe. It's adaptable, yet it never loses its weight. Every time you say it, it lands with the same impact. Now, let's talk delivery. The way you say I admire your courage can make all the difference. If you toss it out casually, it might not hit as hard. But if you slow down, let your tone carry a hint of respect, maybe even awe, it becomes something else entirely. Look them in the eye, let the words sink in, and watch what happens. You'll see it in their expression, in their posture. It's like you've given them permission to feel proud of themselves, maybe for the first time in a while. And here's the kicker, this phrase doesn't just elevate them. It elevates you too. When you're the kind of person who notices courage in others, people start to see you differently. You become someone who looks beyond the surface, someone who values substance over style. That kind of presence? It's hard to ignore. It's the kind of energy people want to be around, to be influenced by. So, the next time you catch someone doing something brave, whether it's bold and obvious or quiet and understated, don't let the moment pass. Say it. I admire your courage. You might just change how they see themselves. And in doing so, you might change how they see you too. It's a small phrase with massive potential. Use it wisely. Number 10, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Let's talk about one of the most underestimated phrases in human interaction. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. At first glance, it might not seem like much, just a few words strung together. But don't let its simplicity fool you. This phrase, when used correctly, is a social superpower. It's like slipping a subtle compliment into a conversation while simultaneously drawing someone closer to you. It's the perfect blend of curiosity, validation, and intrigue, all rolled into one. Here's the thing, when you say, that's a very interesting way of looking at it, you're doing something most people don't bother to do, you're acknowledging the uniqueness of someone's perspective. And let's be honest, people love to feel like they're bringing something special to the table. It's like you're saying, "Wow, I hadn't considered that before. You've given me something to think about." And who doesn't want to feel like they've just blown someone's mind, even a little? Now, the magic isn't just in the words themselves, it's in how you deliver them. The tone has to be genuine, your body language open, maybe even a slight smile or a tilt of the head. It's not a phrase you throw out casually, it's one you say with intention. If you rush through it or sound dismissive, it loses all its charm. But if you slow down, really let the words land, it creates this subtle pause in the conversation, a moment where the other person feels truly seen. Why is this so effective? It's because it feeds one of the deepest human needs, the need to feel valued. Most people go through life feeling like their ideas aren't worth much, like they're just one voice in a noisy crowd. When you take the time to point out that their perspective is interesting, you're telling them, "Hey, you've got something worth sharing. You're not just like everyone else." That kind of validation? It's intoxicating. But there's more to it than just flattery. This phrase also sets you apart. Let's face it, most people are quick to jump into debates, to prove their own point, to dominate the conversation. But when you pause and say, "That's a very interesting way of looking at it," you're showing restraint. You're signaling that you're not just here to talk, you're here to listen. That's rare. And rare things? They're irresistible. Here's another layer to this. The phrase is a masterclass in ambiguity. Think about it, it doesn't necessarily mean you agree with what they're saying. You're not committing to their point of view. You're simply acknowledging it, opening the door for deeper dialogue. It's like saying, "Tell me more," without actually saying those words. It invites them to elaborate, to dive deeper into their thoughts, and in doing so, they end up revealing even more about themselves. That's where the real power lies, because the more someone shares with you, the stronger the bond becomes. This phrase also works wonders in situations where you might not fully agree with someone. Instead of outright rejecting their viewpoint or getting defensive, you can use it as a way to de-escalate tension. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. Keeps the conversation flowing without creating friction. It shows that you're open-minded, that you're not here to shut them down. And when someone feels like you're open to their ideas, they're more likely to be open to yours in return. One thing to remember, though, this isn't a phrase you should overuse. If you toss it out every 5 minutes, it starts to lose its impact. Save it for moments when you genuinely find someone's perspective unique or thought-provoking. When used sparingly and with sincerity, it can be a game changer. So, the next time you're in a conversation and someone shares an idea that makes you pause, even for a second, try it out. Lean in, let your curiosity show, and say, "That's a very interesting way of looking at it." Watch how their face lights up, how their tone softens, how they start to see you as someone who gets them. It's not just a phrase, it's an experience. And once you master it, you'll see just how irresistible it can make you. Number 11, you've really made me think about this differently. Let's talk about one of the most underrated superpowers in human interaction, making someone feel smart. Seriously, there's nothing more satisfying than knowing you've sparked a thought, challenged a perspective, or flipped the script in someone's mind. That's why saying, "You've really made me think about this differently," is so magnetic. It's not just a compliment, it's like handing someone the keys to your brain and saying, "Here, you just unlocked something." Think about the weight of those words. You're not just telling someone they made a good point. No, you're going way deeper. You're saying, "What you said changed the way I see things." That's huge. Most people go through life wondering if anyone even listens to them, let alone absorbs their thoughts. When you hit them with this phrase, it's like you're shining a spotlight on their mind. You're giving them credit where it really counts, in their ability to influence and inspire. And let me tell you, that feeling? Addictive. Here's why this works on such a deep level. People want to matter. They want to feel like their ideas have weight, like they're not just shouting into the void. By saying, "You've really made me think about this differently," you're giving them proof that they do matter. You're showing them that their words didn't just bounce off you, they landed, they sunk in, they rearranged something inside your head. That's powerful stuff. It's like telling someone, your perspective isn't just valid, it's transformative. And let's not forget the psychological element here. When you tell someone they've shifted your perspective, you're also subtly positioning them as an authority on the topic. You're saying, "You know something I didn't." That kind of validation is like a shot of adrenaline for their ego. They start to see you as someone who values their insight, who respects their intellect. And here's the kicker, people love being around those who make them feel smart. It's an irresistible pull. They'll seek out your company, crave your conversations, and, whether they realize it or not, start to hold you in higher regard. But here's the twist, this phrase isn't just about them. It's also about you. By admitting that someone's made you think differently, you're showing a rare kind of confidence, intellectual humility. You're saying, "I don't have all the answers, and I'm open to learning from you." That openness is magnetic because it's so uncommon. Most people are too wrapped up in being right to ever admit they've been influenced. When you flip the script and embrace change, you stand out. You become someone people want to talk to, someone they want to share their ideas with. Now, let's talk about how to make this phrase really land. Tone matters. If you toss it out casually, it'll feel hollow. You've got to let it carry some weight. Pause for a second before you say it. Maybe tilt your head, furrow your brow a bit, something to show you're genuinely reflecting. Then say it slowly, "You've really made me think about this differently." Let them feel the impact of those words. Because trust me, they will. And don't worry about overusing it. This phrase is versatile. It works in deep, philosophical conversations just as well as it does in light, everyday chats. Someone shares a new perspective. "You've really made me think about this differently." Someone challenges your assumptions. Same deal. It's a phrase that says, "I'm paying attention. I'm open. I value what you bring to the table." And that kind of energy, people can't resist it. Here's the thing, though, it has to be genuine. Don't throw this out as a tactic or a platitude. People can sense when you're just going through the motions. If their point didn't really shift your perspective, don't force it. But if it did, even in a small way, lean into that. Let them know. Because here's the truth, vulnerability isn't just about sharing your own feelings. It's also about admitting when someone else's thoughts have touched you, moved you, changed you. That's real connection. So, next time someone makes a point that hits you differently, don't keep it to yourself. Say it out loud, "You've really made me think about this differently." Watch their face light up. Watch how the dynamic between you shifts, how the conversation deepens. It's a simple phrase, sure. But it carries a kind of magic, one that turns ordinary moments into unforgettable ones. Number 12, I respect your decision. Alright, let's dig into a phrase that can instantly change the vibe of any conversation. I respect your decision. It might not seem like much at first. Just 5 little words, right? But when you say them, when you really mean them, it's like unlocking a door that most people keep locked tight. This phrase isn't just about words, it's about what they represent: acknowledgement, autonomy, and trust. And let me tell you, people are drawn to that like moths to a flame. Why does this line work so well? Simple. Everyone wants to feel in control of their own life. Nobody likes being told what to do or being made to feel like their choices are up for debate. When you say, "I respect your decision," you're doing something rare. You're stepping back and letting them own their moment. You're saying, "Hey, I trust you to make your own call, and I'm not here to judge or interfere." That's powerful. Most people aren't used to hearing it, which makes it hit harder when they do. Here's the thing, respect is magnetic. When you show someone that you respect their choices, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, you're sending a signal, "I see you as an equal." And that's huge. No one wants to feel talked down to or dismissed. But when you respect their decision, you're creating an unspoken bond, a foundation of trust that's hard to break. Now, let's get real. Sometimes it's hard to say, "I respect your decision," especially if you think the choice is questionable. But that's the beauty of it, it's not about you. It's about giving them the space to navigate their own path. By saying those words, you're letting go of control, and believe it or not, that makes you more powerful, not less. People are naturally drawn to those who don't feel the need to dominate or impose their will. And here's a wild twist, when you respect someone's decision, it often makes them more likely to respect you. Why? Because respect is a two-way street. When you show that you're not here to undermine them or force your perspective, they feel safer, less defensive. And in that space, real connection happens. They start seeing you as someone they can trust, someone they can open up to without fear of judgment. But let's talk delivery because, let's be honest, how you say something matters just as much as what you're saying. If you drop "I respect your decision" in a flat, dismissive tone, it's going to feel fake. It'll come across as, "Whatever, do what you want." And that's not the vibe you're going for. The magic happens when you say it with sincerity. Maybe add a nod, a thoughtful pause, or even a slight smile. Let them feel that you mean it, that you're genuinely stepping back and letting them take the reins. What's really interesting is how versatile this phrase is. It works in almost any situation. Someone's making a tough call? "I respect your decision." They're choosing something you wouldn't? "I respect your decision." Even if it's something as small as picking a restaurant or as big as a life-changing move, those 5 words carry weight. They're like a bridge, closing the gap between two people, even if their perspectives don't fully align. And let's not forget what this does for you. Saying, "I respect your decision" forces you to practice humility, to acknowledge that your way isn't the only way. That's a game changer. It keeps your ego in check, and it shows others that you're secure enough to let them have their moment. And that security? It's contagious. People notice it. They're drawn to it. They start to see you as someone who's grounded, confident, and wise enough to know when to step back. So, here's the challenge. The next time you're tempted to argue, to push back, to correct someone, pause. Take a breath. And try this instead. "I respect your decision." Watch what happens. Notice how their demeanor shifts, how the tension melts away, how the conversation takes on a whole new energy. It's a small phrase, but it carries a big message. "I trust you to do you." And that's irresistible. Thank you for watching. Mastering the art of influence starts with understanding yourself and others on a deeper level. If this resonated with you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future insights. Remember, true power lies in mastering your mind and actions, not just words. Apply these principles wisely and ethically, and watch how the world responds to you.